At this time, we ask that you please silence all electronics and refrain from using flash photography for the duration of the ceremony. Now please enjoy one more song by the Texas A&M choral groups.
Lost colors. Freeze and arms. Order. Arms.
Good evening. What an honor it is to witness but a fraction of the Aggie family gathered here this April 21st to muster. As Reed Arena fills with an array of unique life stories and experiences, what unites us all this evening and every evening is the reach of the Aggie spirit. In this moment of time, let us acknowledge both the blessings and hardships that have been woven into our hearts this past year. Let us now pause to remember those who are absent. May we reflect on the tremendous sacrifices given by those whom we honor this evening in our silent mourning. May we appreciate the examples that they have set forth to be forever in our hearts. We wish for strength to do our tasks better in service to our shared humanity, our university, our family, and our friends. Let us reflect on the hardships and our perseverance through reading of an excerpt from a poem written by Greg Fink, class of 2008. We tout the Aggie spirit everywhere, to parents, peers, and anyone around the corner, sometimes stated boldly and other times in the shadows. But what happens when our Aggie spirit is tested, when our vibrant maroon fades to white? So we yearn for truth. We look to what we can control. We remain loyal Aggies, true to each other as Aggies can be. We lead through the unknown and work to make new solutions. We recognize our privilege and try relentlessly to hold one another up. We memorialize our time together and remember those not with us. We look to our traditions as lessons about what we to prioritize. Lessons like service under pressure, celebrating lives well lived, or the importance of camaraderie. An Aggie is resilient and perseveres with each test. We are the 12th man, inclusive and timeless. So we look toward the horizon, tested but not beaten, and we adapt, learn, and move forward, each step more important than the next. We must not take each test lightly, for they ground us back to what we hold so dear, a spirit, untouchable, unyielding, and true, a spirit that can ne'er be told. April 21st allows Aggies of the past, present, and future to open their hearts to the lives of those Aggies who are absent. To be able to stand and call here for them is an act of courage in and of itself. This, in its most vulnerable form, is the Aggie spirit. This act of service, to honor and remember them, is why we muster. So with this, may we reflect on the lessons and strengths gleaned from this year, honor those who are no longer with us, but who will always remain with us in spirit, and allow for this occasion to bring new inspiration to us all.
Please be seated. The Last Core Trip by P.H. Duvall, Jr., class of 51, and Catherine Holmes Smith. It was Judgment Day in Aggieland. Intenseness filled the air. All knew there was a trip at hand, but not a soul knew where. Assembled on the drill field was the world-renowned 12th man, the entire Fightin' Aggie team, and the famous Aggie Band. And out in front with Royal Guard, the reviewing party stood. St. Peter and his angel staff were choosing bad from good. First, he surveyed the Aggie team, and in terms of an angel swore, "By Jove, I do believe I've seen this gallant group before." I've seen them play since way back when, and they've always had the grit. I've seen them lose and I've seen them win, but I've never seen them quit. No need for us to tarry here, deciding upon their fates. 'Tis plain as the halo on my head that they've opened heaven's gates. And when the 12th man heard this, they let out a mighty yell that echoed clear to heaven and shook the gates of hell. And what group is this upon the side? St. Peter asked his aid, that swelled as if to burst with pride when we our judgment made. Why, sir, that's the cadet corps that's known both far and wide for backing up their fighting team, whether they won, lost, or tied. Well then, said St. Peter, it's very plain to me that within the realms of heaven they should spend eternity. And have the Texas Aggie band at once commence to play, for their fates too we must decide upon this crucial day. And the drum major, so hearing, slowly raised his hand and said, boys, let's play the Spirit for the last time in Aggie land. And the band poured forth the anthem in notes both bright and clear, and 10,000 Aggie voices sang the song they hold so dear. And when the band had finished, St. Peter wiped his eyes and said, it's not too hard to see, they're meant for paradise. And the colonel of the cadet corps said, as he stiffly took his stand, it's just another corps trip, boys. We'll march in behind the band. Then heaven's pearly portals opened. Hosts of angels showed the way for that fightin' Texas Aggie group on that final judgment day. When more Aggies came in view, 12 dressed in bonfire gear, walking arm in arm and singing of the school they hold so dear. 12 Aggie voices said howdy to the keepers of the gate. Working hard, we just lost track of time. We hope we're not too late. It's the fightin' Aggie bonfire crew, St. Peter said, behold. They're ready to light up heaven with their courage and faith so bold. I would often watch them building that stack so large and high, and surely knew the time would come that they would build it in the sky. And so the 12 came through the gates. St. Peter said, don't fear. You are just in time for roll call. And one by one, they answered, here.
On behalf of the Aggie Muster Committee and Texas A&M University, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to the 2023 Campus Muster Ceremony. Tonight, we gather to uphold a beloved and timeless Aggie tradition. We are joined by musters all across the world, all with the same purpose, to softly yet firmly answer here for our fellow Aggies and find unity in our time of bereavement. This roll call symbolizes that every Aggie is important and that their life will be eternally remembered. To the class of 1973, it's my sincere pleasure to welcome you back home to Aggie land. This place has no doubt changed, but I can assure that the Aggie spirit you nurtured during your time here is alive and well. It is an honor to be able to share in camaraderie and remembrance with you this day. To the current and former students, thank you for choosing to be here tonight. Whether this is your first muster or one of many, I encourage you to embrace this evening and delve into what it means to be an Aggie. To our extended Aggie family, thank you for being here to support a tradition so sacred and imbued with the Aggie spirit. In your presence here tonight, you're an integral part of Aggie land and this tradition. And to our honored families, know that you not experience this loss alone. They may not see us in this darkness. Thousands of Aggies stand alongside you in solemn reverence to carry the memory of your loved one on to perpetuity. I hope some of the shadows cast by your loss will abate with the lighting of every candle here this evening, returning to the light the happiness and positivity of your loved one's memory. Tonight we'll pay homage to your loved one once more, gone, but most certainly not forgotten. The meaning of Aggie Muster is unique for each of us, but regardless of who we are, where we have been, or where we are going, tonight each of us is unified by this special tradition. Muster is more than a ceremony, more than a barbecue, more than a reunion. It is living proof that the Aggie family will never forget those who've gone before us, whose lives have helped define our own. As we call the muster, I charge you with reflecting on what here truly means. On this day, within this family, here is more than being present. As our voices echo in the dark, so do the lives and memories of our honored. Long after the lights of this arena fade and the clock strikes a new day, their laughter, memories, and life story reverberate through us all. Tonight, you will respond here for faces as familiar as your own, for faces you've never seen before. Regardless of your relation, each name on this roll call is infinitely important as the last, simply because they are a member of our family. In the silence between each of the names lies our commonalities, from generationally shared stomping grounds to century-old traditions to a deep-seated love for our alma mater. Each Aggie shares a bond unlike any other. Think not tonight of the many ways your life is unique from those around you or on our roll call, but consider many unseen similarities, common grounds walked, the traditions that bind us, and the spirit that unites us all. Tonight is dedicated to each of our absent. Tonight is a symbol and a reminder that even though they may not be here with us in body, they will forever be with us in spirit. Tonight is Aggie Muster.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I believe that muster is the most moving and meaningful of all Aggie traditions. It's a powerful reminder of the Aggie spirit and the deep sense of community that exists at Texas A&M. We gather on behalf of those who are no longer with us, to reflect on their memory, to celebrate their lives, to tell their stories, and most of all, to remember. Aggies are never forgotten. Muster reminds us we share a lifelong bond that is unbreakable and eternal. Around the world today, we are joined by more than 300 muster ceremonies. Some participants number in the dozens, some in the hundreds, some less than 10. The size of the gathering doesn't matter. A muster occurs wherever the Aggie spirit is strong. One thing is certain, Aggie muster is a pillar of continuity in a world full of negativity and distraction. Whether it be during chaos or calm, it is a unique tradition of gathering, as only Aggies can do. Think of April 21st, 1945, when World War II raged the planet. American and Allied forces spanned the globe, thinly stretched to defeat oppression that threatened our freedom. The stakes could not have been higher. But on that day, notwithstanding the circumstance, Aggies across the world reflected, prayed, and remembered. In Paris, a call was made to all Aggies within earshot. 155 Aggies responded, and one of the largest overseas musters was held as the end of the war was in sight. In times of hardship or concord, the unifying bond of the Aggie spirit is always present, connecting Aggies to each other. Because at muster, we stand not just for ourselves, but for those who came before us. And we stand with the families and friends left behind. To those of you who have lost an Aggie, my heart is with you. Please know that the Aggie family is here for you now and always. While we may be in the midst of grieving, tonight we celebrate lives well lived. Walking through the muster reflections displays earlier this week, I was able to learn about a few of the lives of Aggies this year. The artifacts of these individuals' lives were deeply moving, mementos of their time at Texas A&M, memories made by family and friends, and recognitions of their impactful contributions. Muster is our family reunion, joined together to respect those who will never be forgotten. That bond lives today in our complicated world, and it will live in the future. For every Aggie, there will always be a here.
Texas Aggies down in Aggie land, we've got Aggie spirit to a man. Stand united, that's the Aggie theme. We're the 12th man on the team. When we're down, the going's rough and tough. We just grin and yell, we've got the stuff to fight together for the Aggie dream. We're the 12th man on that fighting Aggie team. Texas Aggies down for the Aggie dream. With the 12th man on that fighting Aggie team.
On June 6, 1944, James Earl Rudder led his 225 Army Rangers up the 110-foot vertical cliffs of Point du Hoc. The cliffs infested with enemy troops, Rudder's D-Day invasion took nearly 2 days of intense fighting, leaving him wounded and only 90 of his men surviving. However, Rudder successfully made it to the top and overtook the cliffs. He later went on to serve as president of Texas A&M in 1959 and forever changed the trajectory of our university. Today, students walk past the iconic Rudder Tower at the center of campus, standing 110 feet tall, the exact height of the cliffs he scaled now 79 years ago. Aggies are all about honor. At Texas A&M University, we are intentional about how we care for one another. On the first Tuesday of every month, you can find thousands of Aggies gathered in Academic Plaza for silver taps to commemorate the lives of the students that have been lost in the previous month. Or each spring during the big event, you can find 15,000 plus Aggies gathered together to serve our communities in Bryan College Station. Or take Bonfire Remembrance, where thousands of Aggies gather at the Bonfire Memorial on November 18th each year at 2:42 a.m. Aggies are all about respect. During my freshman year of college, I had the privilege of being a delegate in Gilbert Leadership Conference, a semester-long program equipping freshmen to lead in their time at Texas A&M and beyond. Gilbert Leadership Conference was created in honor of David Gilbert, whose life was cut short by a battle with cancer while he was still a student here at Texas A&M. In just his short time here, David made an unforgettable impact on those around him and set the standard for what student leadership means. Now, each year, Texas A&M freshmen are trained in the life-altering values that David so remarkably displayed. Aggies are all about inspiration. Honor, respect, and inspiration. Muster is the culmination of these three ideals. Ideals that I believe are at the center and foundation of Texas A&M University and values that define our culture. During this muster ceremony, we honor the Aggies that have passed. We honor the brave men and women who have embraced their duty to serve their communities and their loved ones. We also reflect on their lives with respect. United as the Aggie family, we stand together to pay our respects to our fellow Aggies. Finally, we think back on the lives of so many outstanding Aggies and celebrate who they were and what they still mean to us. We stand together inspired by their legacies that we know will live on forever. To all the loved ones of those we are honoring tonight, I offer my deepest condolences to you. The ones we honor, like us, aspire to the Aggie core values of respect, excellence, loyalty, leadership, integrity, and selfless service. We are one in spirit with them, and we are one in spirit with you tonight. Aggie Muster is a day in Aggie land truly like no other. There is no day when our love for our university shines so bright and our care for our fellow Aggies runs so deep. From right here in College Station to places all around the globe, the Aggie spirit is in full force tonight. Whether we know the names of those called or not, we stand and answer here for our fellow Aggies as a united family. We've heard the saying describing the spirit here in Aggie land: from the inside looking out, you can't explain it, and from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. Well, to that I say, attend an Aggie muster ceremony. This speech marks my final official duty serving as student body president here at Texas A&M University, and I can tell you that it has been the honor of a lifetime to serve. This year has truly shown me why our university is about more than just walking across the stage at graduation. We stand for something here at Texas A&M, and our time-honored traditions, values, and culture set us apart. And what truly makes this place special is the people, the Aggies that call Texas A&M home, the members of the Aggie family. And tonight, as we honor these family members that we have lost, I stand before you with gratitude and optimism, as I know that the spirit of these Aggies will live on. This spirit will be at the foundation of the future of Texas A&M, and it will inspire lives for generations to come. As we answer the roll call for our fellow Aggies tonight, we know that their spirit is here.
Howdy. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Tonight, April 21st, 2023, we muster together here in Reed Arena and in countless other locations around the world, all with the same goal, to honor and remember our fellow Aggies. It is a privilege to be here with all of you as we celebrate the lives of those in our Aggie family that we hold so dear. As Aggies, we are called to be more than just students. We are called to be citizens marked with selfless ambition, a commitment to excellence, and an uncommon set of values unique to this university. Being an Aggie means living your life with a purpose. Our speaker tonight is an individual who understands this notion and lives his life accordingly. That is why I have the incredible honor of introducing to you our campus muster speaker, Mr. Tyson Voelkel, class of 1996. Mr. Voelkel is a fifth-generation Aggie from Brenham, Texas. The first Voelkel to attend A&M was in 1881. His father, Travis Voelkel Jr., class of 1964, and mother, Salha Voelkel, fostered in him a deep appreciation for Texas A&M and instilled in their family the value of service. Mr. Voelkel is a proud husband to Christy Voelkel, class of 1998, and father to three beautiful daughters, Eliana, Lily, and Violet. Mr. Voelkel earned 2 degrees from Texas A&M, first as an undergraduate with a bachelor's degree in industrial distribution, and as a graduate student in 2007 with a master's in international relations and national security from the Bush School of Government and Public Service. He also earned an MBA from Rice University in 2011. While at Texas A&M, Mr. Voelkel was a member of the Aggie Band and the Ross Volunteer Company, before becoming the first bandsman to be elected as Corps Commander. While a graduate student, he was selected as the first ever student regent appointed by Governor Rick Perry. He is a recipient of many awards for his demonstrated leadership as a student. In particular, the Buck Wyris Spirit Award that represents a student that positively impacts others and displays the Aggie spirit throughout their time here. That same leadership and passion for Texas A&M continues today. Upon 1 week after graduating from Texas A&M, Mr. Voelkel married his college sweetheart, Christy Voelkel. They began their life together, moving around the world as a military family. During this time, Mr. Voelkel became a decorated combat veteran, proudly serving the United States Army as an airborne Ranger infantry officer. His military career included service in Europe, Alaska, North Carolina, Georgia, New York, Texas, and most notably in the Middle East, where he served as company commander in combat with the 82nd Airborne Division. Mr. Voelkel earned numerous awards for his service to our country, including 2 Bronze Stars during his time in Iraq and the Department of the Army MacArthur Leadership Award. He is also a former instructor of leadership and ethics at the United States Military Academy at West Point. Mr. Voelkel is most proud of his 2 younger brothers, Bo Voelkel, class of 1999, and Trevor Voelkel, 2002, who were both airborne, Ranger, infantry officers, and veterans. Mr. Voelkel and his family are firm believers that a life of service is a life of meaning. Mr. Voelkel continues to serve as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserve. Today, he gives of his time and resources as the president of the Texas A&M Foundation. Here, he works with his team to manage Texas A&M nearly $3 billion endowment and coordinate different fundraising projects,
all with the primary goal of supporting and promoting student success and academic excellence for our faculty and staff. Being able to spend time with him has allowed the entire muster committee to attest to the humility that Mr. Volkel approaches his role with, especially in regard to his desire to connect with students at a personal level to better serve their needs. From his time as a student to his time serving as president of the Texas A&M Foundation, it is apparent that Mr. Volkel is a man dedicated to service, devoted to excellence, and driven by his love for others. Mr. Volkel, thank you for everything you have done for our nation, our university, and this time-honored tradition. With this, it is my great honor to welcome our 2023 Campus Muster Speaker, Mr. Tyson Volkel, class of 1996.
Howdy. So before I go further, we just had the last remarks from our student body president, and that was anticlimactic. We've got to give young Case a round of applause for a great year of service. And I want to just say that Macy and the entire muster committee, this is a student-led organization. And there's no other place on the planet where students care as much as these students do here at Texas A&M. And thank you to the muster committee for all the work you do carrying out the most important tradition at Texas A&M. Muster represents the very soul of our unique Aggie culture. What would A&M be without it? I'm so proud to know you students and to have spent time with you. This tradition, like so many here at Texas A&M, are completely led by the students with just a little advisory support. As students, they are the heartbeat of this great university. Behind me here, you've got the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band. That's right, that's a great group. You've got the Century Singers, the Women's Chorus, and the Singing Cadets. All sound incredible. Thank you for all you do, and thank you, David, for what you do as well. Throughout this unbelievable arena, we've got the Fightin' Texas Aggie Corps cadets as well represented. We have got students from at least 30 different states. We've got international students. We've got graduate students. We've got PhD candidates all attending Aggie Muster. I want to give a special thank you and a special encouragement to the Ross Volunteers and the Ross Volunteer Firing Squad tonight. Thank you for your discipline, your attention to detail, the commitment to excellence, and more importantly, thank you for caring. Nowhere else in America is a student body so engaged, so competent, and so prepared. You bring credit to all of us with your presence and participation in honoring these families, as well as the class of 1973 and their families. Thankfully, I have my family with me tonight, and I'll tell all of you that I feel like I'm the luckiest man on earth to have them. I'm joined tonight by my mother, an immigrant, a first-generation American who encouraged her 3 sons to join the military and give back to this country. She believed selfless service was the only way to understand the blessings and the burdens we have as a nation. She would remind us that America was unlike any other country in the world and that we shouldn't squander our freedoms nor our unique opportunities. I'm also joined by 2 of my brothers, both my brothers, Bo, class of 99, and Trevor, 02. Trevor's wife, class of 02, their 4 children. And I'm just proud that they also served to defend our freedoms. I'm also joined by my incredibly loving wife of 25 years, Christy, class of 98, and our daughters, Eliana and Violet, and our 3rd daughter, Sweet Lily, watching over us in heaven. Christy, your light shines bright, and your service and sacrifices have helped so many people. Thank you. For tonight, the students asked me to share what muster means to me and my family and why we love A&M so much. It's a humbling assignment for anyone who loves this place and a nearly impossible task for someone who believes their life was transformed by Aggieland. I simply wouldn't be who I am without Texas A&M. I imagine many of us tonight may feel the same. When I think of muster, 3 symbols come to mind. First, the candle. Each one tells a life story with a flickering flame, a reminder of how precious life is. Second, the Aggie ring, a symbol of merit, belonging, and values. You earn the ring and you spend your life trying to live up to what it represents. Third, that amazing, beautiful symbol of freedom, the flag of the United States of America, the symbol of freedom and opportunity known around the world. All three symbols represent different things for different people, but for my family, they bind the muster tradition together in a way that helps remind us that we should never take our history for granted. We should always strive to give our best and do the right things for the right reasons. When our daughter Lily was alive, we learned that love and faith was all about. Sometimes, as many of you are learning, sometimes it takes losing absolutely everything to realize what you've got. And sometimes you realize that faith is all you have. And you also realize sometimes that faith is all you need. Lily was born with a rare syndrome, deaf and blind. She was on a permanent mechanical ventilator and required a trach and feeding tubes after her first open heart surgery at 6 days of age. Learning was a challenge, as you would expect. She required multiple heart surgeries and other procedures during her short but impactful life. We lived in the hospital ICU ward for months, seeing countless families living their worst nightmares. It gave us perspective. It gave us empathy. It gave us confidence to be advocates for others. Lily identified people and things by touch. It was the only one of her senses that she could actually use. Christy took the day shift and I took the night shift to be with her. She knew her mom's touch and would smile immediately. With me, however, she would reach for my left hand, feel for my watch, and then she'd feel for my Aggie ring. She would inspect it as if feeling every single groove. Then often she'd put it near her lips and tongue before smiling, and then kicking her little feet and grinning from ear to ear. She loved to touch this Aggie ring. Sometimes, when her sister, Eliana, at age 4 then, would play with her in her hospital bed, you could hear her laugh through her trach. It was the most beautiful sound. Aggies poured out their love and encouragement to us during her 3 years of life. And we'll never forget the Aggie spirit we felt during those difficult days. We rarely had control over the circumstances, but over time we learned to control how we responded. Lily taught us that things could always be worse. She was a light in our lives. Then, and to this day, her big sister Eliana and little sister Violet carry her light with them in how they live and how they help others. I'm proud that our daughters already understand the Aggie values, values that set Texas A&M apart. You see, A&M is unique in the world, partly because of traditions like muster. Since our founding in 1876, this institution has stood for more than just earning a degree. The idea of A&M was always to provide a high-quality practical education, and leadership and character were always part of its success. In Governor Koch's inaugural statement, he stated, "It has been the aim of the board to bring down to the lowest possible figure the cost of an education, which shall at the same time be thoughtful, liberal, and practical." He went on to advise the cadets and few faculty members, "Let your watchword be duty, and know no other talisman of success than labor. Let honor be your guiding star in your dealings with your superiors, your fellows, with all. Be as true to a trust reposed as a needle to the pole. Stand by the right, even to the sacrifice of life itself. And learn that death is preferable to dishonor." From our inception, the words honor, hard work, sacrifice, and duty were instilled in the DNA of this institution. These words and the actions of the faculty and the subsequent success of the students are the Aggie way of doing business and how we live. To put it simply, we say what we mean what we say. Our word is our bond. If we're not the smartest in the room, we're going to be the hardest working. We have an edge, a hunger, a desire to do more, to be more, and to serve more. The Aggie way means something to us. It's hard to explain and often easier to feel. Dr. Gates in 2009, former Secretary of Defense, former President of Texas A&M, former Dean of the Bush School, former Director of the CIA, in his muster address, defined the Aggie culture fairly succinctly. And I quote, said, "The Aggie culture is grounded in patriotism, religious faith, however expressed, love of family, loyalty to one another, an old-fashioned work ethic, a sense of duty, the importance of service to others and to our country, and a shared belief in the surprising importance of character and integrity." For these reasons and more, President George Herbert Walker Bush selected A&M as he and Mrs. Bush's final resting ground. Just a half mile from where we sit tonight, a former president and first lady and their daughter Robin rest in peace. His funeral was one of the 2 times in my lifetime I remember the entire country pulling together in unity. The first was following the attacks of September 11th in 2001. The second was during the 7 days of President Bush's funeral. I had a front row seat as I was a reserve officer. I had the honor of being the funeral planner for the Texas portion of his funeral. His chief of staff, Ms. Jean Becker, and I spent many hours together over the years. We would meet for lunch and have meetings with President Bush to discuss the funeral, and his humility and his humor rang true. He was an exceptional human being. On one occasion, I asked him what his life lessons were from public service. I asked him why he loved Texas A&M so much. He told me public service and Texas A&M were inextricably linked. He said he saw the two as being one and the same. He told me that civility, compromise, and courage were the 3 things that he learned. President Bush insisted on the idea that officials that represent their constituents must fight for them, but also remember to be civil and not vilify their opponents. He said we can't go into our corners and just talk to the people that like us. We have to also talk to the folks that don't like us. He went on to discuss the need for compromise in government, the need to often meet in the middle on difficult topics as he believed. Democracy demanded incremental changes more often than giant sea changes. Lastly, he talked about courage, to do the right thing for America, even if it meant losing an election or looking like what he called a flip-flopper when it came to decisions. Civility, compromise, and courage. Interesting lessons from a man who spent his life in service of others. Our meetings would always start with the president asking about my family. He'd ask about Texas A&M. He'd ask about the 12th man. He'd ask about the Corps. He and Barbara loved this place and what it stood for. When our daughter Lily passed, our family was gathered in the kitchen and getting ready to head to her visitation. It was tense and heavy, and we were shells of our normal selves. Christy and I were hollow. We were void of emotion and exhausted physically. We were exhausted spiritually. Then the phone rang, and I picked it up and heard a voice saying, "Please hold for the president." It was President Bush. He authentically told us he was sorry to hear of her passing. He and Barbara had lost their daughter Robin when she was young, and they knew that Christy and I would always have a hole in our hearts. But he encouraged us to fill that hole by doing for others whenever and wherever we could. He emphasized that service mattered and that he was proud of us. That phone call was like a spark for us, a catalyst, if you will. He lifted us up when we needed it by humbling himself, by being vulnerable, and challenging us to do more for others rather than wallow forever in grief. We left for the visitation with a different perspective. Instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, we viewed Lily's passing as an opportunity to share her bright light. We would honor her life the way we chose to live our lives. So when the inevitable day arrived for their funerals, Mrs. Bush first, and then President Bush just a few months later, they took on special significance for us. For a few days, the nation watched as we laid to rest President Bush. It was a unifying moment for our country, and Texas A&M University was on the minds of literally millions around the world. They put on the news and saw this community, a true commitment to the values that America was founded upon. It was especially poignant for me after years of planning. When we saw the Union Pacific train 4141 coming down the tracks, inching down the tracks, that final horn sounding, the rain, thousands of people lined up and down the tracks to pay respects, and then seeing that flag-draped casket. The Ross Volunteers and the Aggie Band stood proudly through the proceedings, and Aggies everywhere understood the weight of the moment. One of the greatest public servants had chosen this place to leave his legacy. The singing cadets performed Mansions of the Lord. Then, to everyone's surprise, the band played the Aggie War Hymn. Why? Well, nobody on his detail even knew, other than Miss Becker and a few others that were very close to the president and his family. But why? Because it's what he wanted. President Bush went against protocol and against the usual decorum, his final doing what's right moment, by playing the war hymn to pay respects here. He chose to create a school of public service here so it could instill in future leaders the Aggie values he felt the nation needed. Muster is the ultimate representation of those values as we've defined them. As you heard earlier tonight, respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, and selfless service. Around the world throughout the day, Aggies have been holding muster ceremonies. The Association of Former Students estimates that there are over 300 official musters taking place around the world today. Earlier today, the name of every Aggie who passed away this past year was read aloud at the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center in their honor. But there are musters happening that aren't on our records. They're taking place in conflict zones and outposts, bringing together missionaries, business people, policymakers, first responders, all who couldn't attend an official muster, yet choose to gather with other Aggies in their own significant way. The first time I heard of a muster overseas was as a freshman at a leadership discussion. The speaker was Lieutenant General James Hollingsworth, class of 1940, the most decorated Aggie general for valor. We were listening intently as he captivated the audience with stories of bravery and sacrifice. He encouraged us to hold ourselves accountable first as leaders, and then always lead from the front. He was feared by his enemies, loved by his soldiers and his family, affectionately called Danger 7-9er. He was a real warrior. On this occasion, he spoke of a battle in Vietnam that broke out when 2 full enemy divisions invaded north of Saigon. Multiple U.S. aircraft had been shot down, and in a rare use of U.S. strategic bombers, Danger 7-9er was able to save hundreds of lives and repel the attacking force. Exhausted and in need of medical care himself, he and his aide, a young captain and proud Aggie, Frank Muller, class of 65, instead went to pay their respects and honor muster in Saigon. That's what Aggies do. At last year's campus muster, General Mark Welsh, the dean of the Bush School, talked about honoring his father with an impromptu muster held on a mountaintop with Special Operations Forces in Afghanistan just before a mission. On this day, 20 years ago, I was a young Army captain in Iraq's city of Fallujah, and that night was muster with just me and one other Aggie. We didn't really know what we were doing other than the fact we knew we should probably sing the Spirit of Aggieland, and we had a lighter, and we prayed. We prayed for the safety of all those defending freedom, and we gave each other an embrace and went back to work. Again, those 3 symbols, the flame, the ring, and the flag. That uniting spirit we felt that night, that's what makes Texas A&M different. This is a university that means so much because it stands for so much. It's a place where we love our country, where we love our families, and we love our freedoms. This is a place where we are free to follow our faith and strive for excellence. We live with a flame in our hearts, rings on our fingers, and flags flying proudly above. I want to read part of a letter that General Rudder wrote to the mother of a soldier that was in his command, Corporal Willis C. Caperton in France on July 13th, 1944, that captures again this idea of our original founding and what we exist for and why this university means so much. The mission of the Rangers was successfully accomplished, but as with all worthwhile things, the cost was great. So great indeed that it cost the life of your cherished and lost us a comrade and a friend. A country must be great to call on the sacrifices of such men, but America will always be great just because such men have fallen, in order that the principles expressed in our Constitution might endure. The class of 1973 has seen a lot. We're proud to be spending muster with you. This afternoon at the barbecue, we had some good bull. We ate, we reminisced, we celebrated, we listened to some good music. We recognize your friends and classmates and honor their memory. We hope that you strengthened some of those friendships today, that you renewed others and found plenty of joyous memories of your time in Aggieland. We laughed this afternoon about some music and movies that were popular in 1973. I would have talked about old Army things, but I was born just 1 year after you graduated, so I couldn't really go there. But the commonality was there. We spoke about patriotism and love of country. Some of the conversations were based on how much has changed, yet how so much remains the same. Your class grew up in the Cold War and lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis, Watergate, and much, much more. Many of you spent your youth preparing for nuclear fallout in a bipolar struggle where democracy and communism were clearly defined. Today, we find ourselves facing a new geopolitical challenge with many of the same actors. Cyber warfare, the space race, tensions in the Indo-Pacific, Central Asia, Europe at scale and pace that increasingly defies imagination. Texas A&M is going to help us stay safe. Possibly even more concerning is the rise in domestic terror threats and the shockingly large decline in patriotism, faith, and hard work around the country. In March, many of you may have seen, the Wall Street Journal published an article titled, "America Pulls Back from Values That Once Defined It." They did a survey. In a poll in 1998, 70% of respondents thought patriotism was very important, 70%. And 62% said so of religion. Today, those same numbers came in at 38% of our country thought that patriotism was important, and only 39% thought that religion was important. Tolerance for others, hard work, and community involvement have also dropped in the last 10 years. Technology and advances in computing capabilities have enabled advances in industry at a pace and scale humanity may not be ready for. Threats that were once the purview of nation states are now in the hands of non-state actors, and the creation of blockchain technologies as well as new currencies provide a double-edged sword of prosperity and angst. If we're not vigilant, we may find ourselves on the cusp of a catastrophic reorganization of global power. Although complex and seemingly intractable, I believe the solution to so many of the world's ills today is education, and specifically higher education, that of land grant, space grant, sea grant, an institution like a Texas A&M, where character and values still are fundamental to everything we do. Education is the antidote to hatred, to poverty, to sickness, to racism, to complacency, and to entitlement. America needs men and women of character who work hard, who have integrity, and are passionate about being good citizens. America needs more Aggies. America needs this university, its faculty and staff and students. America needs us to step up. America needs more Aggies in every industry in every corner of the globe. We love all because this country needs all to thrive. We believe that freedom is not born around boardrooms, but around family tables. We believe that democracy by the people, for the people is the way out of bondage and a catalyst for the good in the world. We should strive for innovation and creativity in all areas of education. We should strive to do our best and to be our best selves. We should strive always to be elite, but never elitist. Never elitist. As an institution of higher education, Texas A&M exists to serve all of our citizens, regardless of their background or political affiliation, to expose our students to a wide range of ideas and present opportunities to be challenged and to engage. We prepare them for the world rather than shield them from its harsh realities. We must never abdicate our responsibility as citizens to others due to complacency or entitlement. And we owe it to all those who came before us, including those Aggies who've passed this year, to carry the cause forward, to keep their flame alive, and to fill the hole in our hearts with purpose and service to others. To the families who are honoring loved ones tonight, the pain you feel and importance of this evening is not lost on us. We too mourn the friends, family members, and fellow Aggies whose names will be called shortly. May tonight be a time for us to celebrate those lives and embrace the unique bonds we share with them. We all have but one earthly life to live, and we do well to spend it doing good. We remember with you tonight and view the lighting of a candle with each name as a tangible and intangible representative of the Aggie spirit. Each of us will have our names called someday, regardless of our titles, regardless of our wealth, race, or creed. The only label that matters here is that of Aggie, We are the Aggies are we. As we light each candle, we remember that our own lives may just be fragile, but can never be so bright. Every day we choose to give light to others. We choose optimism. Tonight we choose to stand together in remembrance, holding true to our values and letting the memories of our loved ones inspire us to dare greater. Their flames provide warmth and light the path forward. Individually they may be small, but together they light up the entire arena. They remind us that together there is nothing we can't accomplish. And when we say here, we reaffirm our commitment to the lasting memory, to their lasting memory. Because if we are here, we can hope, we can build a brighter future they would have loved to build with us. But first, we must softly call the muster. May God bless this university, God bless Texas, and God continue to bless America.
Howdy. It's really an honor to be with you tonight at Aggie Muster. On behalf of your premier alumni association, the Association of Former Students, thank you all for joining us for this very powerful demonstration of the Aggie spirit. To the families of those we remember this evening, we are deeply sorry for your loss, but very grateful for your presence and for the mark that your loved ones left on all of our hearts. I want to recognize the class of 1973, who this year celebrates 50 years as former students. We sincerely thank you for the impact that you have had and you continue to have on Texas A&M University. More than any other of our many traditions, Aggie Muster sets Texas A&M apart. As former Texas A&M President and U.S. Secretary of Defense Dr. Robert Gates said, this ceremony has no parallel in any other institution in America, not in the armed forces, not in the CIA, not in business, and certainly not in any other college or university. As we gather by the tens of thousands here in Aggieland and on MusterLive.com, Aggies are also gathered by the hundreds in Houston and Dallas, by the dozens in New York and Tokyo, and by groups of 2 or 3 in backyards across America and in combat zones around the world. Each muster is unique, but all of them will conclude with friends and families proudly answering "here" for departed loved ones. Dr. John Ashton, class of 1906, instructed us in Roll Call for the Absent, the poem that he wrote in 1943, softly called a muster, let comrade answer here. So tonight, we will answer, just as our forebears have for dozens of generations. We will answer for friends, for relatives, for classmates, for colleagues, and for some with whom we share only the bond of being Texas Aggies. Tonight, the Roll Call in Reed Arena honors our campus community. Earlier today in Aggieland, starting at sunrise, the full worldwide muster roll was called and answered with a "here" for each and every one of the nearly 1,300 Aggies who were lost since we gathered for our last muster. Among the countless blessings of being a Texas Aggie is the comfort of knowing that someday someone will answer "here" on our behalf and mark us present in their hearts. It could be in this very arena. It could be in a backyard somewhere in the world, but someone will answer "here" for us at the end of our journey. That is the sacred promise of muster. And on behalf of the Association of Former Students, thank you for gathering tonight in remembrance and fellowship as we keep that promise to all those fellow Aggies that we've lost. Gig 'em, and God bless you.
Howdy. The Aggie family has been built upon decades of changes that have helped this university develop into the tradition-rich and values-driven university that we all know today. It is a family that seeks to show camaraderie to all who embrace its long-standing culture, a family that is chosen by those who attend it and is centered upon mutual respect and selfless service to others. Aggies have seen the development of incredible traditions that distinguish Texas A&M as a university that impacts students beyond the classroom. 5 decades have meant new additions to the campus infrastructure and the student body population. And the men and women from the class of 1973 who have gathered here for their 50th class year reunion have witnessed this growth and change of A&M throughout their years as Aggies. The class of 1973's time at Texas A&M was defined by significant changes. Well-known buildings on campus such as Rudder Tower, AP Butyl Health Center, and Harrington Tower were constructed. The university's student population underwent rapid growth from having around 13,000 students present in their freshman year of 1969 to having nearly 18,000 students by their senior year, partially attributed to the class of 1973 being the first class to have a considerable female presence on campus. They experienced traditions of Texas A&M such as silver taps and muster at the G. Raleigh White Coliseum. They yelled, whooped, and cheered on Fightin' Texas Aggie football during their game days in a version of Kyle Field that was half the size, but most definitely just as loud as the one we know today. Even with constant changes, the class of 1973 never failed to enjoy their time on campus. Their stories are a testament to their ability to make their own fun in unconventional ways, despite being in the small town of College Station. These stories include memories of food fights at the dining hall and creating a massive water balloon slingshot off the roof of Duncan. These are a few of the many different stories that the class of 1973 has shared with us this year, all of which have the same ending, but you can't get away with that anymore. 50 years have passed since the class of 1973 were seniors attending Texas A&M, and they still have so much in common with the seniors in the class of 2023. They both understand the excitement and simple joy of walking around campus. They have both experienced the occasional hurt from a rough football season and can both agree that next year is definitely A&M's year. They both understand the love and wonder of a campus that has been under construction since 1876. Although this university has changed over these 50 years, the traditions of Texas A&M have always endured to make notable contributions to the significance of being an Aggie for every student that attends Texas A&M. Traditions are uniting factors between Aggies and an integral part of being an Aggie. The tradition of muster unites us by bringing us together to honor those who came before us. The tradition shows the respect that Aggies have for one another, with the promise to each one that they will always be remembered and never forgotten. By continuing these traditions, we commit to fostering the spirit of Aggieland to ensure it continues to inspire all past, present, and future Aggies. With this in mind, I would like to thank the class of 1973 for their contributions to both the history and traditions of Texas A&M. Thank you for your continued dedication to the Aggie spirit.
Roll call for the absent by Dr. John Ashton, class of 1906. In many lands and climes this April day, proud sons of Texas A&M unite. Our loyalty to country, school we pay, and seal our pact with bond of common might. We live again those happy days of yore, on campus, field, in classroom, dorm, at drill. Fond memories bring a sigh, but nothing more. Now we are men, and life's a greater thrill. On Corregidor, 75 years ago today, a band of gallant Aggies, led by Moore, held simple rites which led to us doth all to say, the spirit shall prevail through cannon roar. Before we part and go upon our way, we pause to honor those we knew so well, the old familiar faces we miss so much today, left cherished recollections that time cannot dispel. Softly call the muster. Let comrade answer, here. Their spirits hover round us as if to bring us cheer. Mark them present in our hearts. We'll meet some other day. There is no death, but life etern for heroes such as they.
Tonight, as we celebrate the campus muster ceremony, we represent one of many gatherings, no one more important than another. We light this candle and bring to life the enduring spirit of muster and all Aggies who we have honored throughout the years and will honor tonight. May this candle serve as a representation of the unity that muster affords us and signify that the spirit that flows through each ceremony is the same. Let this spirit bring life into the memory and legacy for all whom we softly call the muster. Blake Barnes, class of 2025. Matthew Anthony Calderon, class of 2025. Andrew Paul Coleman, class of 2025. Benjamin David Hamilton, Jr., class of 2024. Magana Devi Kudali, class of 2024. Asher Drake Rowlands, class of 2024. Victoria Christine Solaric, class of 2024. Eric Arthur Tuck Otero, class of 2024. Ivan Zabrodin, class of 2024. Nicholas James Brugner, class of 2023. Austin Michael Hodge, class of 2023. Tyler Wade Ryan, class of 2023. Carson Davis Fitzgibbon, class of 2022. Harrison Miller Fuller, class of 2022. Tanner Reese Hong, class of 2022. Arjun Kumar, class of 2022. Audrey Arbalo Valim, class of 2022. Gabriella Zoe Tostenson, class of 2021. First Lieutenant Parker William Nash, class of 2017. Misty Rochelle Jackson Davis, class of 2014 and 2016. Major Andrew David Cotter, class of 2008. Chief Warrant Officer 3, John Douglas Brockway, class of 2007. Lola Ana Garcia, class of 2003. Jamie Beth Mars, class of 2002. Mr. Aaron Ross Golson, class of 1998. Diane Dugan Hotchkiss, class of 1996. Travis Marr, class of 1996. Colin Crane Hadley, class of 1995. Noe Rolando Gonzalez, senior, class of 1994. Will Rodriguez, class of 1994. Miss Arpena Saute Coggle, class of 1993. William Dan Baker, Jr., class of 1992. Roger Doe, class of 1992. Lauren Estes, DVM, class of 1992. Timothy Randall Loser, class of 1992. Lieutenant Colonel Damon Gerald Faltzgraf, class of 1991. Julie Angela Strange, class of 1991. Miss Martha K. Suter, class of 1991. Gerald Jeffrey George, class of 1990 and 2002. Miss Cecilia Tony Speck Lancaster, class of 1987. Laura Tribble Eldier, class of 1986. Mr. Charles Stevens Sachs, Jr., class of 1986. Chris Slower, class of 1984. Lester Les Warner, class of 1983. John Dennis Savage I, class of 1982. Dr. Stephen Gerald Wisnat, class of 1982. Dr. Robert W. Knight, class of 1980. Larry Ezell, class of 1978. Rob Roy Ruth, class of 1978. Dr. Nicholas W. Dobrovolsky, class of 1977. Michael Kent Flowers, class of 1976. Buddy Floyd Hale, class of 1974. Mr. Dale Glenn Miller, class of 1974. Gerald Jerry Anderson, class of 1973. Michael Lee Bell, class of 1973. Dr. Glenn Paul Blodgett, class of 1973. Timothy V. Coffey, class of 1973. Walter Patrick Pat Flynn, class of 1973. Mr. Robert W. Bob Grubachik, Sr., class of 1973. J. Fletcher Kelly, class of 1973. Lori Husky Klink, class of 1973. Dr. Thomas Hiram McAdams, class of 1973. Leroy Joseph McKeska, class of 1973. Dr. Gary Scott Nelson, class of 1973 and 1975. Paul Lynn Parker, class of 1973. John Burson Roach, Jr., class of 1973. Carl Arthur Robbins, class of 1973. Gordon Frederick Saugabill, class of 1973. Scott M. Sprouse, class of 1973. Richard John Wheeler, Jr., class of 1973. Major Ira James Whitlock, Jr., class of 1973. Tat Ming Calvin Yue, class of 1973.
Robert McClurg Shannon, Jr., class of 1972. Leon L. Chandler, class of 1971. Tommy Dale Cook, class of 1971. James J. Dool, class of 1971. Mr. Herman Thomas Toops, Jr., class of 1971. Kenneth Fenolio, class of 1970. Mrs. Catherine Louise Bricker, class of 1969 and 1992. Dr. John Edward Matoka, class of 1968. Mr. Joe Daniel Bricker, class of 1967. Vincent Donald Newhouse, class of 1966. John Richardson, class of 1968. Dr. Stephen Grant Stoops, class of 1968 and 1969. John Michael Beasley, class of 1966. Frank Winfield Dublin, Jr., class of 1966. Dwayne Eadson, class of 1966. Raleigh Roy Langhoff, class of 1966. Advie John Burke III, class of 1965. Roy Joe Fisher, class of 1965. Donald T. Marburger, class of 1965. Franklin Joseph Stein, DVM, class of 1965. William Michael Barnes, class of 1964. Dr. Joseph White Bitter, class of 1964. Frank Richard Kilbasa, class of 1964. Mr. Kenton Ernest Marshall, class of 1964. Augusto Bernardo Cruzalegi, class of 1963. John Jack Howard Hopkin III, class of 1963. Dr. Colbert Wayne Trahan, class of 1963. Victor Ray Corman, Jr., class of 1962. Zay William Gilbreth, class of 1962. Dr. Harold Lynn Adams, class of 1961. Alberto David Gutierrez, Sr., class of 1961. Clyde Norris Hale, class of 1961. Olin F. Malman, class of 1961.
Frank B. Seal, class of 1961. Donald Edwin Hillier, Jr., class of 1960. Kenneth Warren King, class of 1960. Brigadier General Edmund S. Shoimoshi, class of 1960. Walter Fred Capel, class of 1959. Samuel Lloyd Neal, Jr., class of 1959. Bobby D. Wilson, class of 1959. Colonel Irvin Eugene Zuzalik, class of 1959. Gilbert Alden Freitag, class of 1958. Henry C. Gonzalez, class of 1958. Lorenzo Larry Williams, class of 1958. Louis F. Castro, class of 1957. Bill L. Clark, class of 1957. Lupe Fraga, class of 1957. Jimmy Dale Harris, class of 1957. Lowry Mays, class of 1957. Harold G. Jake Jacobson, class of 1956. Dr. John Hughes McCrary, class of 1956. Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Brock Staples, class of 1956. Mr. Roy H. Markward, class of 1955. Mr. John Joseph Moritz, Jr., class of 1955. Lieutenant Colonel Fred Wilms, class of 1955. Forrest Lynn Estep, Jr., class of 1952. William Bill Joseph Neely, class of 1952. James Jennings Story, class of 1952. William Franklin White, class of 1951. Lieutenant Colonel Harold J. Shockley, class of 1950. Colonel Gerald Riley McManus, class of 1949. Charles Donald Schmidt, class of 1949. Charles H. Weinbaum, Jr., class of 1947. Robert Price Heath, class of 1946. Edward Carr, Jr., class of 1944. Linwood Steglich, class of 1944. Teresa Becca. Dr. Norma Field Funkhauser. Dr. Ken E. Harding. Dr. James Francis McNamara. Mrs. Norma Pantoja. Dr. Donnie J. Self. Mark these names present in our hearts. Please extinguish your flame and be seated. In Memoriam by Lieutenant Colonel David Harrigan, Class of 68. We stood a little taller and a little prouder then when we heard the call of muster and the roll call just began. We stood there all together and wiped away the tears when our names were called out softly and answered with a "Here." And so we've joined together with our brothers of the past to make our final resting place at Aggieland our last. We take a toast to our brotherhood wherever they may roam. For us, the trek is over. Aggieland, we're coming home.
In 1942, E.E. McQuillan, Executive Secretary of the Association of Former Students and Class of 1920, sent a message to the chairman of each Aggie muster worldwide. In this message was included a traditional closing of the ceremony that has remained an integral part of many musters to this day. Major Glenn G. Burnside, retired, Class of 1973, will now stand and dismiss the muster. Sir, the 2023 campus muster at Texas A&M is now completed.
I charge you each to remain firm in your loyalty to humanity and to your country. Keep warm in your hearts your affection for each other and for your alma mater, Texas A&M. The muster is dismissed until April 21st, 2024. And may good fortune smile upon us all until we meet again.